Welcome back to Benny's Custom Works, proudly brought to you by Haltech. This week we are at Sydney Dragway and we do have the Monza out. I have already reeled off 4 passes and they are all within a tenth of each other. So I have a bracket car, which is sad, I guess. That being said, I was very close and I didn't actually record what I thought the car would run, but I was spot on. And it was purely just to throw a number in the air, but yeah, I actually guessed what the number was, so go banana. A few things to mention: we did do Summernats. Unfortunately, I lost my voice and as a result couldn't actually make a proper Summernats video. There is so much Summernats content out there. I'll put links in the description to some videos anyway. Street Machine did a really good feature on Jay's Tirana. If you haven't seen that, please go check it out. That is, in my opinion, one of the most standout builds of Summernats, and I know that's very controversial because there was some absolutely amazing cars in the top 60 haul, but I think from a unique perspective, or from, I guess, just a totally different skew or view of a Tirana, yeah, that car I think is pretty cool, and it is going to be a drift car, so it's not actually a show car. It's a purpose-built drift car that just happened to be built and turned out like that for Summernats. So yes, I am a fan of Jay. I love Jay. So I guess the elephant in the room, if you've been following my Instagram or Facebook, I have been looking for a Holden 5 litre. I have now got 2 Holden 5 litres, so the 350 is coming out. So the reason the 350 is coming out basically just goes down to fitment. There's a reason you don't see 350 Chevs in Commodores, and it's just that they don't really fit. The starter motor being on the driver's side or the right-hand side in Australia is basically a pretty big fitment issue with steering rack, steering knuckle, and then on the Monza, it has a steering box. So that then creates more fitment issues on the passenger side with the drag link, and it basically means we can't actually run the exhaust down between the firewall and the crossmember. And currently, as it sits, the exhausts actually run forward. The headers look quite like a boat header. They run forward and under the K-frame, so that impedes ground clearance, and it's actually quite close to the K-frame as well. I don't know if it's because the engine mounts have sagged or there's some other fitment issue there, but going to a Holden 5 litre, which we're actually going to build and oversize it probably to 355 cubic inches. Ian Kelly, the wizard of Street Machine and all other things Ian, he has put me in touch with someone who is the go-to for building 5 litres, and they're confident in getting 500 horsepower aspirated with it on 98 fuel, which means it's a super streetable engine and also reliable. So I don't want it, this car's never about power, so it's not about going and running a dyno number. I want it to be manual, I want it to be V8, make cool noises, and I want it to look like a VK Commodore. So by the end of it, it will be all of those things. I've now got a set of tough mounts to put the 5 litre into it. That subframe or that K-frame is not going to work, so the parts VK that we already have at the shop, I'm going to actually put the one of the 5 litres I've got and the T56, that is going to go in, well, an upcoming episode, may or may not be the one after this, but that will be in real time happening next week. So we'll do the test fit of that, start to look at things, clearance things like the exhaust, transmission crossmember. The tough mounts will bolt the engine in, but we don't currently have a transmission crossmember option. Jason does do some transmission options or crossmember options, so we may visit that as well. But yeah, it's just going to be a case of working out what truly is Commodore and what is a little bit different, being that this actually is not a Commodore. So, but yeah, as far as putting the VKK frame in, I believe that is a fully bolt-in deal. And I've spoken to someone who has done it, and he also says the steering column itself, even though it's designed to go on the box, we can use the Commodore intermediate shaft directly on the bottom of the Monza column. The only thing we need to do is add a bearing to the bottom of it, because on the Monza, the steering box itself actually supports the bottom of the column. So by installing that bearing on the bottom of the column, that means the intermediate shaft's not carrying that radial load of the bottom of the column. So yeah, there's a lot of things that we're still working out and theorizing about. The other good news is the output shaft yoke for the Turbo 700 is the same as the T56. So there is a chance that the box will line up with the tail shaft we've already got. Barry Burnout's just cutting some hot laps. But yeah, hopefully a lot of these things, the stars will align, and that'll mean that the box will go in and all our bits that I've already started buying will all go together. So long story short, all the running gear is going to come out, and once we've got it mocked up in my VK, we're also going to take a side step and start to do the VK panels into the onto the Monza as well. So plenty more to come. Let's get to it, some drag racing, because I've talked a lot and you haven't seen any drag racing yet. But the Monza is fun. The auto works, the engine works. The good news is it's all coming out and it's going to be for sale. Before we dive into the guts of the episode, I want to give a massive thank you and shout out to DDPAI. They've been a continual supporter and partner of the channel, and without partnerships and support like that, we may not be here. So I really appreciate their support. This week, we've got the Z60 Pro. It's an awesome camera. This is a 3-camera system. So we've got a front camera, a rear camera, and an internal cabin camera. Full 4K in the front camera, really good clarity, and it's something I've actually been using for a while now. We've also have DDPAI cameras in the Ram already, and also in my Pajero Mini, which has recently moved on. So we're gonna chuck this one in and give it a bit of a whirl. The DDPAI Z60 Pro features upgraded 4K vision, dual Sony StarViz 2 technology for clear vision, including 4K at 30 frames per second or 3K at 60 frames per second, which is a really high frame rate. Founded in 2013, DDPAI leads in advanced dashcam imaging research and development, focused on intelligent AI-powered dashcams. It delivers cutting-edge tech for smarter, safer driving. The Z60 Pro's got some pretty cool features, including ADAS 2, which is a advanced safety function, so it can give you voice prompts based on what the camera is actually seeing. It also looks at what other vehicles are doing on the road. Say you're in traffic and for whatever reason you don't see the car in front moving, for instance, it will visually give you an audio prompt that the car in front's moved. The other thing it does monitor as well is driver fatigue and things like that. It will give you audio prompts to manage things like driver fatigue and other sort of driving conditions as well. The other thing I really like, the parking monitoring function. It's like a passive monitoring system, so it will actually look for either other vehicles or people, whether they impact or damage the vehicle. And it's also connected with the 4G module as well, which then sends information back to my phone. Basically, it flags it's had an impact. You can actually set that, what the level of triggering is. I've currently got it set to medium, and with some of the potholes around in this area, it actually triggers even hitting those potholes. So I get a text message directly to my phone every time there's an impact or a trigger situation. That actually does take photos and stores the photos in the dash cam for any one of those impact situations, as well as physically filming it as well.
And lastly, Night Vision 2.0 enhances image processing for improved, brighter footage in dark environments.
Let's do some skids.
Quite comfortably take the win across the finish line. The lead was out of the throttle pretty early on the last. Oh, look at two on tap for the Commodore, but the Corolla's going to take the win. It wasn't AU Falcon, for the Pulsar, but the RAV4 is going to take the win.
Stout little burnout from the Monza, and the Audi just goes around the water.
I think the Monza might just be studying the taillights of the Audi, I reckon.
What's the thing around the mid?
To 115 miles an hour for the Audi in the aeroflow lane.
And 14.7, 94 miles an hour.
This thing's pretty point and shoot. I did in fact get gapped by Audi A1 by a substantial margin. I saw it run a 12.2 and then counted a full 2 seconds before I got anywhere near the line. So I'm anticipating a 14.7, somewhere around there, because that seems to be where this thing lives happily. It still has a little bit of a misfire on, well, near gear shift around that kind of 5,000 RPM point. Don't really know what that's about, but I don't have any way of data logging this thing. But it also does have some dodgy looking ignition leads, so there's every chance it needs leads. But this whole running gear combo is coming out of the car, so I'm not really keen to spend any money on it. Similarly, I'm not sure if you can actually see the speedo from there or not, but the speedo cable has also snapped. So currently we're doing 0 mile an hour, so go banana. I am also not going to rectify that, A, because I'm not really driving the car, we're just racing it here today, and then it is going to go back to the shop. Jesus, that's a noisy pulsar. It is going to go back to the shop and we're going to start pulling it apart. I am going to be selling the 350 and the Turbo 700. I think it's a pretty good combo. Give it a few tweaks like ignition leads and plugs. The other thing worth noting, actually, I can't physically change the rear spark plug on the driver's side because the steering box proximity to the spark plug is absolutely ridiculous. So the only way to actually change that plug would be to either remove the steering box or reposition the engine. So I had originally thought about putting plugs and leads in it, but it just is what it is. It runs great cruising around on the street. And then, yeah, obviously coming out here, a bit more heat, a bit more load. It doesn't love working super hard. I haven't really worked out how to launch it properly yet either, but we'll suss it out and see how we go for the next run. Thanks, mate. What did we run? I'm guessing 14.7. 14.7. 14.7's a popular number.
It was loose, and then he pedaled it, and then it just skipped in the opposite direction. Wow. Took a bit of research there, but it was a little bit loose on the hit there. Went 1.5 to the 60 foot. Ladies and gentlemen, now that we're back into our cars for their next run for racing, once we take a short break, we'll have a word from some of us.
Every time I see a rotary, I love it. Love it. We're so fortunate here tonight. We've got a great mix of vehicles. Seen the market pretty fired up in the commentary box. I'm not even up there, but I can tell in their voices that they're as fired up as I am. Back to you, boys. Thank you very much, Stu. We've just seen yet another one of these different cars race down the racetrack while you were doing the interview. That Honda CRV that was out here a couple of weeks ago, just before Christmas, went 134 miles with the typical all-wheel drives like Honda drives walks here at Park Track. And buried into the firewall and received very good times and speed. As we said, a good mix of cars here tonight.
And this thing's as straight as a die. The head unit came out, which is the first time I've seen it come that far out, so that's handy for when I put the new Pioneer unit in. But yeah, so far so good. Engine doesn't turn on still. Love it. I see you there.
Oh, hello there. You have to wait a while for me to catch up.
What'd I run? 14.7?
7.
Nice. Consistency. That was the 4th run of the night, and the car so far has run 3 14.7s, and according to Paulie, it ran a 14.7. So, I have a bracket car. Don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but it's pretty consistent. Consistently slow. But the good thing is we now have a baseline to compare once we go Holden engine and a manual. So interestingly, Paulie's just manual converted his E36 and it's now slower. So I'm hoping that once I go manual, I am also going to change the diff ratio in this, so it won't be an apples for apples, because this currently has a low 3, like in the 3.0s or 3.1s or something, and I've got a 3.45 that's out of a manual Monza. So that will make it more sprightly anyway, and it would actually help this combo, but I don't want to go back and forth too much with this combo when the whole thing's going to get redone and freshened up anyway. So we'll pull the diff out and get that over to Frankie and get him to get it sorted. Well, all in all, had a really good night. The car is still functioning and we'll drive onto the trailer. I ran 4 14.7s, so 14.73, 14.74, 14.77 and 14.73, so very consistent. I did actually predict, although not publicly, so whatever, make of it what you will, I was thinking it was going to run 14.7, so pretty surprised that I was pretty spot on, but also quite happy, because it's one of those things you're like, oh, am I going to be close, am I going to be way out? But being that we now have a bit of a benchmark, we can do all of this work and the car will probably run a 14.7 at the end of it. But you know what? This car's never been about power, and in my opinion, the Holden 5 litre is one of the best sounding V8s in the world, not including exotic V8s, because high revving 4 litre Ferrari V8s or whatever are definitely going to sound better, but in the single pushrod camshaft under in the bit, that type of category V8, I think the Holden 5 litre is a winner. So yeah, we're going to wrap it up. Appreciate you guys watching. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time. Sneaky Mark's being sneaky. Mark's here with his Honda, which I'm sure he's told you 20 times already.
Now you're gonna have to wave, Mark. Wave to us.
Wave, Mark. Why don't you have your Honda shirt on? He's already wearing his mic like it's connected to our thing. It doesn't work, Mark. They're not all just synced. This guy just trying to get in, just trying to get in on it. Just trying to get in on everything, and then he'll have the other side of the footage, except you'll see Mark's footage in 6 months.
I already filmed his car.
Yeah, but it'll be finished and done by the time your episode comes out.
This is true. That is absolutely true.
Who edits both of these episodes? It's actually you. Blame that guy. He's too busy cutting trees down. Oh, the Captain Planets will get upset. Anyway, this is already good. Well, we've already filled 5 minutes.
Yeah, true.
Good chat. This can go at the end of the outro.
See you, Mark.
See ya.